Or your great aunt was the first Texan?
I guess that you could say that. You know, that's what
Well,
we know.
first born in Stephen F. Austin's colony, yeah.
In the colony,
unless there were
for sure.
other.
My name is Robert Burnam, but everybody calls me Bobby, and we're on the 5th generation of this ranch. I'm 92 years old.
Trina Hill Burnam, birthday November 19th, 1947.
Okay, my name is Sam Burnam. I was born May 25th, 1943.
We've been married 54 years.
And we've been, 54 years, and never had an argument. I've always agreed with what she said. 1876, he wrote it on the wall there, 1876. And these cypress logs were hauled in from over at Cypress Mill. They had a mill over there, but you can see how they cut them with an axe, and they hauled them in by oxen. In 1822, our great-great-grandfather came to Texas.
But he was born in Kentucky.
Yes.
And then his father died, and his mother and two brothers, or one brother. She moved the children to Tennessee.
They moved to Tennessee, and then he volunteered in the Tennessee militia, and evidently they migrated on down to New Orleans and fought in the Battle of New Orleans. And after the Battle of New Orleans, he contacted some type of a fever, and the Army doctor or whoever the doctor was told him you need to go to a warmer climate. He said, well, I want to go to Texas. He said, well, there's the way to it, you know. And so they had heard about Stephen F. Austin's colony, that they were giving some land grants. And so that's how they ended up over there. He said they nearly drowned going across the Neches River. He said nearly didn't make it.
And his daughter was the first girl?
First child born,
First child born.
Nancy. Her name was Nancy Burnam.
So that would be the first
Texan.
immigrant first?
Yeah, I guess it would be.
And then
I
what?
thought about that.
Stephen F. Austin's, it developed 300. They had ended up with 300, didn't it?
Yeah, they're actually 298. But,
298?
But it was called the 0300 colony. He had room for 300. Now, we always thought that he got the captain from Stonewall Jackson in the Battle of New Orleans, but it wasn't. Stephen F. Austin, there in the colony, made him made him captain. And that's where he got Captain Jesse Burnam. You know, it was fighting the Karankawas and then the Comanches and the Wacos. He mentioned in his memoir, especially about the Karankawas coming up from the coast. Some places wrote where they were cannibalistic, but he said that we never saw that. He wrote one time, he says, the bow had to be as tall as the Indian. But he said, we could smell them long before we could see them. He says, because coming from down in that mosquito-infested Matagorda area, he said they would rub fish intestines all over them. And he said they stunk to high heaven. And he said, you get down when you knew they were here. You know, he said you could smell them before you could see them.
So when he had his trading post there at LaGrange, he still had to fight to keep what he had.
Oh yeah, they were. It was a constant fight with the Indians raiding down through there all the time, you know, and really after the Battle of Skull Creek, which is probably the most written about battle in the colony time, whoever the commander was got shot or crippled or injured, and so Stephen F. Austin made him captain. This first wife was named Temperance Burnam.
But he was married. He married Temperance in Tennessee.
They were married in
They
Tennessee.
got married in Tennessee, and he said in his memoirs that we've read, he said that they got married, but they had no money. And so Temperance sold the silk stockings that she had woven. She sold them to get money to buy a fork and a cup and a plate. so that they have something to eat on. And then Captain Jesse said he fashioned a knife out of wooden. He carved a knife out of wood, and that's basically all that they had. I mean, very, very poor.
5 or 6 years after they got here, they had a cholera outbreak. She went across the river to take care of some of the sick folks. About 2 weeks passed, and the river had been swollen with a lot of rain, and so the river had gone down enough to where he told William Owen, his oldest son, says, you go get your mother and bring her back. In about 2 days, William came back. He said, Dad, Mother died. There he was to raise those little girls and with 7 more children. The little girls one morning said, Daddy, we need a mama. He said, well, mamas are not too easy to come by in this area. He said, we know exactly where there's a mama. Well, tell me. He said, right down the river, there's a mama. He said, how do you know? He said, because William Owen went down and got her to come stay with us while you were gone for 2 weeks out hunting. So what's her name? Her last name is Ms. Ross. He says, okay. So he goes down the river. He says, Ms. Ross, I need a wife. When she says, well, I need a husband. So they married. And evidently, it was a good marriage because they had 7 more children. So that made a total of about 15 or 16 or 17, somewhere in that area. At that time, the Republic, Captain Jesse was one of the officials in the colony. He wanted Texas to remain a republic. That's what he wanted more than anything. In Texas history, you hear about the runaway scrape. A lot of those guys had been there a couple of weeks and they were ready to go home or do something. And so they started to leave, and Sam Houston says, we've got to go on across the river. And they had about 600 men, and so they ferried them across the river on his ferry over to the other side, of which time Sam Houston took them on. And his 2 oldest sons, William Owen and John Hickerson, went on and fought in the Battle of San Jacinto. So after the Battle of San Jacinto, Sam Houston sent one of his couriers and burned Captain Jesse's house down, his ferry, and burned his ferry up and his lodge and his home. And the reason for that, he says, well, I didn't want any part of the remaining Mexican army to be able to come back across the river. But it was not, Captain Jesse always said that's not the reason. He hated me because he wanted Texas to become a state, and I wanted it to remain a republic. He came up here in 1852, and this was his land grant from Texas. The governor of what was the state of the Republic of Texas was David G. Burnett. And he told Captain Jesse, he says, your boys can go up the Colorado River and they will receive patents or land grants for their fight in the war. Well, John Hickerson, one of them that fought in the battle, William Owen, John Hickerson says, I'm going to Mexico. And he never came back. Nobody ever knows what happened to him. So my great-grandfather, Robert Thompson, got John Hickerson's land grant. So he and William Owen load up all their belongings and they come up the Colorado River to where we are right now. And that's, the Burnams have been there since 1852. And so time went along, and of course he was there by himself. And one of the neighbors came up and says, you need a wife. He said, I have a niece in Tennessee, and if you'll send her money, she will come and marry you. We got a picture here somewhere. Isabel Caroline came, my mother always told us, if it hadn't been for Isabel Caroline, the Burnams would be complete idiots because she opened up a little school and she taught some of the neighborhood kids around here. The Snelleys and the Hoodies, they were all German immigrants, the Eblings and stuff, came to her little school. And so Isabel Caroline was our great grandmother. And they had 7 children. And one of the children they named John Hickerson after his brother that fought in the Battle of San Jacinto and then went off to Mexico and they never found and they received the land grant. So he named one of his boys and that turned out to be our grandfather. Our grandfather is John Hickerson and he inherited the ranch that we're on now from Robert Thompson.
When I was big enough to come down, I would come down and stay with grandfather because we lived another house up here about 4 miles from here, and I had a little Shetland pony. Drive over, come on down here, and I'd stay down here with him a couple of weekends or whatever, and then I'd go back home. I would catch a lot of perch in these springs. I would catch crawfish, all kind of stuff in these springs. But he was real good on this deer hunting. Now he had an old 30-30 like that one up there. It was back in 1954. I went to the post office and got a letter from the United States Service. I opened it up. You have been drafted into the Army. And it wasn't but 2 or 3 days. I mean, had to get ready. So I did, and I brought the letter home and showed it to my mom and daddy. But that night, I walked out the house here. It's that house right back yonder that we burned down. And I walked out, and I got in my pickup, and Daddy walked out with me. He says, you know, I hate to see you leave. But says, I had the hell rather you go than what you're getting into with that other girl. That's exactly what he said. He was pretty tough.
I'm thankful to be where I am. I'm thankful God has planted me here. I have no regrets. A happy life, a good life, a hard-working life, but that's good for us to stay busy, even with aches and pains.
And we intend to try to keep this ranch going in our heritage for as many more generations as possible. We know that we've got one more generation covered and hopefully more. But we have been good stewards of the land, and I think when Trina and I are gone, we're going to leave it in better shape than we found it.